Hello, my friends. Perlo Wisdom here. And today I'll be talking about, are the Oilers a better team going into next year? Now that they have acquired Isaac Howard, the Hobie Baker Award winner for last year from the Tampa Bay Lightning, for O'Reilly, who looks like he could be a good third liner down the road. We don't know. He's younger and what have you. And Howard, of course, being a Hobie Baker Award, obviously has potential. He was a 30th overall pick or 31st overall pick when he was drafted, and that was 3 years ago that he was drafted. If you look at the Hobie Baker list for the last, say, 15 years, the players that seem to do really well are ones that are usually first year or second year. Like Celebrini last year was in his first year was drafted. In his first year, he wins the Hobie Baker Award. That shows an immense amount of talent. For the draft this year, you didn't really have a strong U.S. contingent. Hagens was probably the best of the bunch, picked fifth overall, but there was no real superstars or anything. Like, for instance, if Celebrini would have been in this year, would have been playing this year in his first year like he was last year, he probably wins the Hobie here. So temper it a little bit, I would say. Most of the people that I talk to and I listen to that I trust. One of them is Scouching, by the way. Check that out on YouTube. Kind of give Howard something like a Vetrano type possibility in the NHL. I mean, it could be higher, could be lower. Another guy that had won that recently, the most recent uh, college player that won the Hobie Baker Award was Godette. And I know you may be going, who? And exactly right. Godette hasn't really kicked butt. Now, he was a fifth overall pick. He wasn't as high as Howard. So he wasn't originally intended to be a star anyways, but he did manage to pull it off after 3 years of junior. So I would say that Howard is probably going to end up being a little better than Godette, but I'm listening to things on Twitter where they're putting Howard up in the top six this year and he's going to get 50 points and all that kind of stuff like that. And that just seems very highly unlikely to me. It doesn't seem like he's gone on a trajectory where that is going to be the case. Another good example is Leonard for the Washington Capitals. It's pretty much the same age, and actually, he's a year younger. He's a year younger than Howard, and had almost the same amount of points. And he was the runner-up for the Hobie Baker Award. Did play last year for the Washington Capitals. Looked good for a young player, but certainly didn't crush the NHL to any extent. Now the argument being, well, these guys didn't have to get to play with McDavid or Draisaitl or whatever the case may be, and I agree to a certain degree. Draisaitl and McDavid can make any player better, but Godette, I'll tell you right now, if Godette played with Draisaitl and McDavid, he probably wouldn't have played there for very long. If you don't have a better player than Godette to play with McDavid and Draisaitl, you're probably not doing too well. This is not an NHL where two players are going to win you a cup, as we've seen. Two players can turn an average team into a very good team, like they have the last year and the year before, making the finals. They basically dragged that team into the finals. But they're generally, but they had better players than Godette playing with them. If they would have had Godette playing with them, it could have been a different story. So I'm not saying he's going to be Godette, but I do find it highly unlikely. I'm thinking that if he can play I think it would be very good if he got 35 to 40 points in the NHL this year if he happens to play the whole season. He's not a very big guy, so he's going to be going against much tougher, bigger competition than he has seen. I know in college they are more like men, but they're not as fast, they're not as strong, all of that. And it's a grind. It's an 82 game season, something you only get like 30 games in college. So he's got to automatically be used to playing a heck of a lot more games against way bigger and stronger competition. It's tough. So I don't know if you want to be putting so much pressure on this kid, and I don't know if how he handles the pressure if he takes it, thinking that you're not going to be satisfied unless he's getting 50, 55 points, because I think you may be disappointed. Um, and I don't think it should even be expected. However, if he can pull 30 or 34, it could be enough for McDavid to start thinking, you know what, that was a heck of a move. This kid's really good, and he's probably going to get a lot better. Might put it in his mainframe that the Oilers really can do some good stuff to have this team be able to win over and over and over again, which is basically what McDavid has said, that he will sign if he believes the Oilers can win over and over and over again. So, anyways, that's my take on that. I mean, I hope Howard does what fans are thinking, and I'm hearing a lot of fans, and even some media people saying, I hope that's right. It's not out of question that this guy just levels up huge and freaking crushes in the NHL next year. I'm just saying that realistically speaking, that's a high, high, high expectation for that kid. Savoie, now, on the other hand, um, I think Savoy might be the better prospect between him and Howard, to tell you the honest truth. He's also a 21-year-old player who played on a fairly bad team last year for the Oilers AHL squad, and he did pretty well. He got 50 some odd points in 60 some games, I believe it was, which is like a .9 scoring percentage for a young guy that's 21. That's not bad. I mean, he's not destroying the league by any stretch, but it's not bad. To put it into perspective, there's a fellow named Liam Ogren who played for the Minnesota Wild, who played a few less games because he played up with the Minnesota Wild a couple more games, but got sort of the same scoring pace and is the exact same age. And the Wild are about as bad of a team as the Oilers AHL team was. So they're not similar. They're not really similar playing styles, but they are similar talents. And Ogren wasn't able to move himself up the lineup too much last year. They pretty much played him on the fourth and third lines. They gave him sheltered minutes as much as possible. Didn't get very many points. Savoy is not a big guy, so he's got more speed, and I'm sure they said they want to get younger and faster. Well, they certainly are. And it's a good thing to say when you're likely they probably knew they were in on Howard, and they were likely going to have to use Savoy this year, whether they liked it or not. You better say that, because that's what is going to be happening. They are faster. Kane was not very good last year. Arvidsson, he played well when he could, but he was injured before. Now the question is, how much better is Howard than Kane, say, and how much better is Savoy than, say, Arvidsson or anybody else that they had in that top six bottom aspect? Like Draisaitl played with Carlson and Podkolzin. So if you're going to put one of those guys up there, are they better than those guys? Maybe, maybe. I would say they're closer to just as good. And not only that, you're going to be going into you're going to be going into the playoffs with two rookies after playing an 82 game season against very, very big players that have never played in the playoffs before. We've seen over and over again how that turns out with teams. It quite often doesn't go as well as they would like. Even the Montreal Canadiens last year, they were a very young team, looked really good during the regular season, played with high energy, not much defense, but were able to find ways. St. Louis was able to find ways to find spots where they could just out energy teams and make it in. As soon as they got the playoffs out, they were out of their league. And that's usually the case for rookies coming into the league unless they're like superstars, or very very high, not generational players but franchise type players. They usually don't work well in the playoffs. So I would say this team is pretty much likely the same team, as good as the same team as last year, and maybe even taking a step down. I did like the move by Mangiapane. He's great analytically speaking. He's good three zone forward, which they needed a lot because they really have struggled with that last year, in their on their wings past the first line. So that's going to help a lot. But overall, I don't think this really changes this year that much. It could make this team very good in 2 to 3 years, depending on how much Savoie and Howard progress, and if they progress to where they are shown to progress. Like even if Howard becomes like a Petrano or something like that, I've heard some people say maybe he could be a Zegras. Now that would be a step up. That would be fantastic. Savoie, from all I've heard, is a very fast player. Plays fairly perimeter because of his size. If he can get strong enough and big enough, maybe he can turn into like a Garland or something like that, and that'd be great. But is that going to be next year? I find it highly unlikely. Tell me what you think down in the comments, or you can come over to my Twitter, Perlo's NHL POW, and talk about it there. As I'm probably going live on Spaces tonight, which is an audio thing that we go on together, and anybody can come on and talk to us, Rico, Peanut, Avi, who's going to give me shit for this because he's a huge Edmonton Oilers fan and thinks I'm an Edmonton Oilers hater, even though I'm supposed to be an Edmonton Oilers fan. So you can hear him go off on me on that, and he already has on Twitter. Or you can go hear all my other stuff on my YouTube channel, and you can catch me on the Ice Guys, voted the best sports betting podcast last year in North America when the season starts again. So go get yourself subbed up to that. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Okay.